Alice Grayson was no thrill-seeker, but she was desperate. Her daughter, Emily, had vanished 3 months ago without a trace, and every lead had gone cold. That was until Alice received a crumpled letter in the mail and signed with only a short, cryptic message. "If you want answers, find room 7 at the Calhoun House." Calhoun House was a decrepit old mansion that had been abandoned for decades, shrouded in stories of madness and disappearances. Sat on a hill at the edge of the forest, its skeletal frame dark against the evening sky. Alice's rational mind screamed to ignore the letter, but her mother's heart couldn't let it go. The front door groaned as she pushed it open. Dust motes floated in the stale air, and the smell of rot hung heavy. The interior was as lifeless as she'd imagined, furniture draped in yellowed sheets, wallpaper peeling away in jagged strips. A staircase curved up into the shadows. Her flashlight trembled as she ascended, the creaking steps echoing through the empty house. At the top, a hallway stretched before her, lined with doors, each numbered. When she found room 7, the door was slightly ajar. Inside, the room was sparse, an iron-framed bed, a small table, and a mirror on the far wall. But it wasn't the furniture that stopped Alice in her tracks. It was the photograph sitting on the table. It was a picture of Emily. Alice's knees buckled, and she rushed to the photo, her shaking hands clutching it. "Emily," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. How could this be here? Behind her, the door creaked shut with deliberate slowness. She turned sharply, but no one was there. "Who's here?" she called, her voice cracking. The room answered with silence, except for the faint sound of whispers, soft, overlapping voices coming from the mirror. Alice approached it hesitantly. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, like a crowd in distress. When she peered into the mirror, her reflection was gone. Instead, she saw Emily standing in a dark, endless void, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. She was mouthing something, but no sound came through. "Emily!" Alice cried, pounding on the glass. "I'm here! I'm here!" The whispers behind her grew louder, almost deafening. She spun around, and the room had changed. The bed was gone, replaced by a gaping hole in the floor. From its depths came a faint light and the distant sound of Emily calling for her.
"Mom, help me."
Alice's heart clenched. She dropped to her knees at the edge of the hole, peering into its depths. It looked endless, but Emily's voice was so clear, so close. Without thinking, Alice reached into the void and the light expanded, enveloping her. Suddenly, she was falling. The world spun in a blur of shadows and whispers until she landed hard on a cold, damp floor. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in room 7. She was in a long, endless hallway lined with doors, each one marked with a number. Some were open, revealing glimpses of horrors, figures writhing in darkness, familiar faces trapped in silent screams. Others were sealed shut, their surfaces scratched and dented. A voice spoke behind her, low and hollow.
"Welcome to the Forgotten Room, Alice. You should have stayed away."
She turned to see a figure, its face obscured by shadows, standing at the far end of the hall. "Where's my daughter?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The figure pointed to a door marked with a faint, flickering Emily.
"She's waiting for you," it said. "But everything comes with a price."
Alice didn't hesitate. She ran toward the door, ignoring the whispers, the distant screams, and the figures clawing at the edges of her vision. She flung the door open and saw Emily, curled up in the corner of a room that seemed to shift and breathe.
"Mom!"
Emily sobbed, running into her arms. Alice held her tightly, tears streaming down her face. But as she turned to leave, the door had vanished. The walls of the room began to close in, the whispers turning into a cacophony of screams. The figure's voice echoed again, calm and detached.
"You wanted answers. Now you'll join the others who came seeking them."
Alice clutched Emily, her heart pounding as the walls pressed closer. "We'll get out," she whispered. "I promise." The room laughed. No one has ever escaped the Forgotten Room.
That's it for tonight's tale. But don't worry, there's always more where that came from. Be sure to stay tuned for even more nerve-thrilling horror stories every single week. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join us here at the Hollow Horror. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay safe. Or stay scared. See you next time.